Hello everyone, and welcome to the Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Naruto inherited the power of the first angel, Rising A. S.A. mortal who surpassed Zeno's law, Naruto x Marcarita x Whis Dragon Ball Super. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Chapter 1. Awakening Beyond Six Paths. The morning sun paints Konoha in hues of amber and gold, casting long shadows across the rebuilt village. Naruto Uzumaki stands atop the Hokage monument, gazing at the sprawling settlement below. 2 years have passed since the Fourth Great Ninja War ended, 2 years of reconstruction, of healing, of unprecedented peace. The wind ruffles his blonde hair, longer now than during the war, and tugs at the edges of his customized Jonin vest. Peace doesn't suit him as well as he thought it would. Naruto flexes his right hand, the one Tsunade crafted from Hashirama's cells after he lost his original fighting Sasuke. Sometimes it tingles with an unfamiliar energy, not chakra, not exactly. Something deeper, something ancient. Thought I'd find you up here. A voice calls behind him. Naruto doesn't turn. His enhanced senses identified Shikamaru's approach long before the strategist spoke. Am I late for something? Not technically, Shikamaru sighs, coming to stand beside him. But Kakashi has that diplomatic meeting with the Land of Iron representatives in an hour. He wants you there. I'm not Hokage yet, no, but everyone knows it's just a matter of time, Shikamaru observes. They want to meet the hero who'll eventually lead Konoha. Naruto rolls his shoulders, relieving tension he didn't realize had accumulated. Fine. Shikamaru studies him with narrowed eyes. You've been restless lately. Everything all right? For a moment, Naruto considers telling Shikamaru about the strange occurrences, the moments when the world seems to slow around him, the dreams of endless starlit voids, the way his chakra sometimes pulses with colors no one else can see. Instead, he shrugs. Just feeling cooped up, I guess. Not much call for six paths sage mode when you're sitting in committee meetings. Shikamaru nods, though his expression suggests he's not entirely convinced. Must be tough, going from saving the world to filing reports. Something like that. Naruto takes one last look at the village. Let's not keep Kakashi waiting. They leap from the monument, chakra cushioning their descent as they drop toward the administrative district. Naruto feels that strange tingling again, like electricity dancing beneath his skin. And suddenly he's moving faster than intended, the world blurring around him. He lands 30 meters ahead of where he meant to, startling a group of genin practicing shuriken techniques in a nearby training ground. Shikamaru catches up, eyebrow raised. Show off. Naruto forces a laugh. Sorry, miscalculated. They continue toward the Hokage Tower, but Naruto's mind races. These miscalculations have been happening more frequently, moments when his body doesn't cue. You might follow the natural laws of physics or chakra. Something is changing within him, and he doesn't understand what. The Hokage's office buzzes with pre-meeting energy. Aides scurry about with NTS and refreshments while Kakashi stands at the window, seemingly absorbed in the vista but actually reading his ever-present Ika book concealed within a diplomatic report cover. Ah, Naruto, Kakashi says without turning. Just in time. Barely. Shizune mutters, adjusting a stack of folders on Kakashi's desk. The samurai representatives are very punctual people. Naruto takes his pause. Isshin, not at Kakashi's right hand where a true advisor would stand, but slightly behind and to the side. The role of Hokage in training remains awkwardly undefined. Any specific protocol I should know about? Naruto asks. Kakashi finally turns, tucking away his book. Just follow my lead. The Land of Iron is interested in establishing a more permanent ninja liaison office. Nothing complicated. The meeting proceeds exactly as Kakashi predicted, formal but straightforward. The samurai representatives, 3 stern-faced men in traditional attire minus their armor, speak precisely and directly. Naruto finds himself studying their chakra patterns instinctively, a habit developed during the war when identifying disguised enemies meant survival. Something flickers at the edge of his awareness. One of the samurai, the youngest, a man named Tanaka, has an unusual chakra signature. To normal senses, it would appear perfectly ordinary, but Naruto's enhanced perception detects something artificial about it. A henge, perhaps, but more sophisticated. Naruto shifts his weight slightly, positioning himself for quicker movement if needed. He catches Shikamaru's eye and taps his finger twice against his leg, their old signal for potential threat. The meeting continues without incident for another 20 minutes. Treaties are discussed, proposals examined, pleasantries exchanged. Naruto maintains his vigilance, monitoring the suspicious samurai who has contributed little to the conversation. As Kakashi prepares to finalize the preliminary agreement, Tanaka stands to stretch his legs. His hand moves toward his waist in a casual gesture that sets off alarms in Naruto's mind. Time slows, not metaphorically, literally. The world around Naruto decelerates until the falling papers from Kakashi's desk hang suspended in air. Sound stretches into incomprehensible, drawn-out tones. The disguised assassin's hand moves toward his concealed weapon at a glacial pace. Naruto, however, can move normally. He doesn't question this impossible phenomenon. Training and instinct take over as he crosses the room in what feels like normal speed to him but must appear as instantaneous movement to anyone else. He seizes the assassin's wrist before the fingers can close around the hidden Senbon launcher beneath the samurai robes. Time resumes its normal flow. The terms seem agreeable, Kakashi is saying, unaware that anything happened, when he notices Naruto has somehow teleported across the room and now holds Tanaka's arm in a vice grip. The fake samurai's eyes widen in shock. Impossible, he whispers. No one could have seen. Naruto twists the man's arm, forcing him to his knees. Who sent you? The other samurai leap back, hands moving to their swords, but Shikamaru's Dao possession jutsu freezes them in place. Explain yourselves, he demands. They're not involved, Naruto states with absolute certainty. He can see the genuine confusion and alarm in their chakra patterns. Just this one. Kakashi moves beside Naruto, eye narrowed. Care to explain how you identified an assassin before he made his move? The would-be killer struggles in Naruto's grip, then suddenly goes limp as a pre-planted poison capsule in his mouth releases. His features shift as the sophisticated transformation technique dissolves, revealing a gaunt face with strange, circular markings etched into the skin. A suicide seal, Kakashi murmurs, examining the body. Very advanced work. Naruto releases the dead assassin, staring at his own hands. How had he moved so fast? How had he slowed time itself? Not even the Flying Thunder God technique could explain what just happened. Naruto, Kakashi says quietly. We need to talk about what just happened. I don't know what happened, Naruto admits. I just saw he was going to attack and moved. You didn't move, Shikamaru interjects, releasing his shadow possession from the legitimate samurai who are now being verified by Anbu. You disappeared and reappeared. No body flicker technique, no Flying Thunder God seal. You were simply there, then here. Naruto runs a hand through his hair. I felt like I was moving normally. Everything else was slow. Kakashi studies him with an intensity normally reserved for enemy combatants. Report to the hospital. I want Sakura to run a full examination. I'm fine. That's an order, Naruto. The hospital smells of antiseptic and herbal remedies, an odd combination that's uniquely Konoha, blending modern medicine with traditional techniques. Naruto sits on an examinat ion table while Sakura holds glowing green hands over his chakra network. Your chakra is strange, she says, brow furrowed in concentration. The pathways are expanding. Is that bad? It's unprecedented, Sakura corrects. Chakra pathways are set by adulthood. They don't just grow. She moves her diagnostic jutsu to his head, then jerks back as if shocked. What is it? Naruto asks, alarmed by her reaction. Sakura stares at him, then cautiously places her hands near his head again. There's a secondary chakra system forming. I've never seen anything like it. It's like your original network is being used as a template for something bigger. Before Naruto can respond, the door slides open and Hinata enters. Her hair falls past her waist now, and her Jonin uniform fits her athletic frame perfectly. 2 years of intensive training have transformed the once shy girl into one of Konoha's most capable trackers. Naruto-kun, Kakashi-sama told me what happened, she says. her voice carrying the quiet confidence she's developed. I came to see if I could help. Sakura gestures her forward. Please do. Your Byakugan might see something I'm missing. Hinata activates her dojutsu, veins bulging gently around her lavender eyes. She gasps. What do you see? Naruto asks. Your chakra, Hinata murmurs, circling him slowly. The central coils around your here. Chi are vibrating at an impossible frequency. And there's a secondary network overlaying your primary pathways, but it's not chakra exactly. Naruto feels a chill. What is it then? Hinata deactivates her Byakugan, looking troubled. I don't know. It resembles the energy you channel in Six Paths Sage mode, but more fundamental. Like the difference between water and the concept of water itself. That makes no sense, Sakura says. Though her tone lacks conviction. I know, Hinata acknowledges. But it's the closest I can come to describing it. Naruto-kun, how do you feel? Fine. Better than fine, actually. It's true. Despite the confusion, Naruto feels stronger and more aware than ever. Colors seem more vibrant, sounds clearer, as if a veil has been lifted from his senses. Sakura makes notes on his chart. No other symptoms. Headaches, dizziness, changes in appetite. Well, Naruto hesitates. I've been having these dreams. About stars and empty space. Sometimes I'm floating above the world, looking down at it. And occasionally things around me seem to slow down. Like today with the assassin. Sakura presses. Yeah, but never that extreme before. Usually it's just a moment or two where everything feels sluggish. Hinata sits beside him on the examination table, her presence reassuring. When did this start? A few months ago, after that mission to the ruins in the land of whirlpools. Hinata's eyes widen. The ancient Uzumaki temple, the one with the celestial markings. Naruto nods. The mission had been simple. Escort archaeologists studying the remnants of his clan's homeland. While there, he'd discovered a sealed chamber deep beneath the primary ruins. Inside had been a single stone tablet covered in symbols unlike any shinobi writing he'd ever seen. When he touched it, the markings had glowed briefly, then faded. Nothing had seemed to happen. Until now. Sakura frowns. You never mentioned any glowing tablets in your mission report. It didn't seem important. Naruto shrugs. Nothing happened. I figured it was just reacting to Uzumaki chakra or something. Perhaps we should. Hinata begins, but stops when the lights flicker. A strange pressure fills the room. Like the air before a lightning strike. Naruto feels the hairs on his arms stand up as that now familiar tingling energy surges through his modified chakra network. The pressure intensifies, and a point in the center of the examination room begins to shimmer. The air distorts, folds in on itself, and suddenly splits open like parting curtains. A tall, slender figure steps through the dimensional tier. The newcomer has pale blue skin, white hair styled upward, and is dressed in elaborate robes with a tall staff topped by a glowing sphere. His expression is pleasant, almost cheerful, but his eyes contain the depth of ancient stars. Hello there, the being says, his voice musical and refined. I am Whis, and you. He points his staff directly at Naruto, are causing quite the cosmic disturbance. Sakura moves into a defensive stance while Hinata immediately positions herself between Naruto and the stranger, Byakugan activated. Who are you? Hinata demands, palms glowing with chakra. How did you enter Konoha without triggering the barrier seals? Whis tilts his head, studying her with amused curiosity. Oh my, such protective instincts. How charming. He taps his staff lightly on the floor, and suddenly Hinata finds herself unable to move. Not paralyzed, simply existing in a moment of paused time. I mean no harm, Whis assures Naruto, stepping around the frozen Hinata. Quite the contrary, I'm here to prevent harm, universal harm, to be precise. Naruto stands, fists clenched. Despite Hinata and Sakura being frozen in time, he remains unaffected. Release my friends. Interesting, Whis murmurs, ignoring the demand. My temporal displacement doesn't affect you. That confirms it, then. He circles Naruto, examining him like a fascinating specimen. You're manifesting the powers of the first angel. The what? The first angel. The original celestial being from whom all other angels descended. Whis stops his inspection, facing Naruto directly. A power that predates the creation of the current multiverse. A power that, frankly, no mortal should possess. Naruto feels the energy within him responding to Whis' presence, resonating like a tuning fork. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a shinobi of Konoha, not an angel. Yet here you are, unconsciously manipulating time and space. Whis gestures at the frozen women. Do you think ordinary chakra can do this? What you call chakra is merely a diluted descendant of celestial energy that touched this world eons ago. With a casual wave of his staff, time resumes for Hinata and Sakura, who immediately resume their protective stances, disoriented by the apparent teleportation of Whis from one position to another. Perhaps we should continue this conversation somewhere less confined, Whis suggests, tapping his staff again. The hospital room dissolves around them. Naruto, Hinata, and Sakura find themselves standing on a vast plain beneath an alley. Sky filled with stars despite the apparent daylight. 2 moons hang impossibly close, and the air tastes sweeter than anything Naruto has ever experienced. Welcome to neutral ground, Whis announces, gesturing to the surreal landscape. A pocket dimension where we can speak freely without risking further disruption to your world's spacetime continuum. Sakura stumbles, disoriented by the sudden translocation. This isn't a genjutsu. Indeed not, Whis confirms. This is quite real, I assure you. Hinata steadies herself, Byakugan scanning their surroundings. There's no chakra here, she reports, voice tight with tension. Not in the air, not in the ground. It's empty. Natural energy exists in all living dimensions, Naruto argues, reaching out with his senses. Even in space, there's something to feel. This is not a living dimension, Whis explains, manifesting an elegant table set with tea from seemingly nowhere. It's a construct, a waiting room between realities, if you will. Please, sit. This may take some explanation. Naruto remains standing. Start with who you are and why you've brought us here. Whis sighs dramatically. So suspicious. Very well. He eats himself and pours tea into delicate cups that materialize as needed. I am Whis, angel attendant to Lord Beerus, the god of destruction for Universe 7, your universe. I am responsible for maintaining cosmic balance and reporting significant anomalies to the proper authorities. God of destruction, Sakura echoes incredulously. Yes, quite. For creation to flourish, destruction must occur. It's the natural order. Whis sips his tea. Lord Beerus destroys planets, species, sometimes entire solar systems when necessary for universal health. Naruto feels a chill at the casual way Whis describes such devastating power. And you work for this destroyer. With, not for. The relationship between angel and destroyer is more complex than mere employment. Whis fixes his ancient gaze on Naruto. But we're digressing. You, Naruto Uzumaki, have somehow tapped into the power of the first angel, power that exists outside the authority of even Zeno, the Omni King who rules all universes. How is that possible? Hinata asks, finally taking a seat at the table though she remains poised for action. Naruto is human, mostly human, Whis corrects. Your species has a fascinating history. Long before recorded time, celestial beings visited this world. What you call the Sage of Six Paths was not the first to interact with divine energy, merely the first in recent history. The Uzumaki clan in particular carries genetic markers from those ancient interactions. Naruto thinks of the stone tablet in the underwater ruins. The markings I found. Ah, you've seen the celestial tablet. Whis perks up with genuine interest. That explains the timing. It was a key, a sealed portion of the first angel's essence, left behind as a safeguard against cosmic imbalance. So touching it gave me these powers? Naruto asks. Not exactly. It recognized something in you, something dormant in your genetic code, awakened by your previous contact with Six Paths energy, and it unlocked potential that was already there. Whis leans forward. You were already extraordinary, Naruto Uzumaki. The tablet merely removed the final barriers. Sakura, ever practical, interrupts. Why are you telling us this? What do you want with Naruto? Quote, an excellent question. Whis sets down his teacup. The power manifesting in your friend exists outside the established cosmic hierarchy. It makes him, potentially, the most dangerous being in existence. I'm here to assess whether that's a problem. The implication hangs heavy in the air. You're here to determine if you need to eliminate me, Naruto realizes. That would be one option. Yes. Whis' pleasant expression doesn't change. Though I must say, I'm finding you quite intriguing. Most beings who suddenly access such power immediately attempt to reshape reality to their liking. You used it to stop an assassin. Fascinating priority. Hinata's hands clench. You can't take him. My dear, if I wished to take him, none of you could prevent it. Whis' voice remains light, but the weight of truth behind his words is undeniable. However, I prefer a more measured approach. Observation, education, guidance. What exactly can these angel powers do? Naruto asks, struggling to process the implications. Creation and destruction of matter. Manipulation of time. Instantaneous movement between points in space or between dimensions. Restructuring of reality itself. Whis lists these godlike abilities as casually as someone might list grocery items. Though without proper training, you're more likely to accidentally erase solar systems than use these gifts effectively. Naruto thinks of the moments when time slowed around him, the strange dreams of floating among stars. Small manifestations of incomprehensible power. I never asked for this, he says quietly. Few who receive great power ever do, Whis responds. The question is what you'll do with it now that it's awakening. Before Naruto can answer, the fabric of their pocket dimension ripples. Whis looks up, surprised, an expression that seems out of place on his ancient face. Well, this is unexpected, he murmurs. We have company. The air splits again, revealing another figure similar to Whis but distinctly feminine, with pale teal skin, white hair styled in a high ponytail, and a staff that mirrors Whis' own. Her expression is significantly less amused. Whis, she says, voice crisp and formal, you've overstepped your jurisdiction. Marcarita. Whis greets her cheerfully. What a pleasant surprise. Care for some tea? This is not a social call. Her eyes fix on Naruto. Narrowing slightly, the Celestial Council has detected temporal anomalies originating from Universe 7. You failed to report them. I was just about to, Whis assures her. After completing my initial assessment. Marcarita circles the table, her movements precise and measured. This is the source. She studies Naruto with clinical detachment. A mortal, not quite anymore, Whis says. He's accessing first angel energy. For the first time, Marcarita's composed expression falters. Impossible. That power was sealed away before the current multiverse formed. Evidently not completely. Whis gestures to Naruto. The celestial tablet on this world has activated after eons of dormancy. Marcarita turns her full attention to Naruto, and he feels a straw. NGE pressure as she examines not just his physical form but something deeper, his very essence. Unprecedented, she murmurs. The energy signatures are authentic. What does this mean? Hinata demands, standing protectively near Naruto. Who are you people? I am Marcarita, angel attendant to Lord Belmont, god of destruction for Universe 11, she introduces herself with formal precision. I've been sent by the Celestial Council to investigate a potential threat to the multiverse. I'm not a threat, Naruto insists. That remains to be determined. Marcarita turns to Whis. The council requires his presence for evaluation. This goes beyond the authority of individual angel attendants. Whis sighs. Always so proper, Marcarita. Can't we at least finish our tea first? This isn't one of your games, Whis. Marcarita taps her staff sharply against the ground. The emergence of first angel energy could destabilize the cosmic balance Lord Zeno established. I'm not going anywhere, Naruto states firmly. Not until I understand exactly what's happening to me and what it means for my village. Marcarita regards him with something between surprise and indignation. You misunderstand. This isn't a request. Actually, Whis interjects, I believe our young friend has the right to prepare before facing the council. After all, he's only just learning about his new status. N's silence falls as Marcarita considers this. Naruto can feel Hinata and Sakura's anxiety, though his own emotions remain strangely calm. Something about Marcarita's presence feels familiar, as if they've met in some forgotten dream. 3 days, Marcarita finally concedes. He has 3 days to put his affairs in order and receive preliminary training from you, Whis. Then he appears before the council. And if I refuse? Naruto asks. Marcarita's gaze is unflinching. Then we contain the threat you represent by any means necessary. First angel energy in untrained hands could accidentally destroy entire universes. I would never. Intention is irrelevant, she interrupts. Power of this magnitude requires absolute control. Without training, accidents are inevitable. Naruto feels the truth in her words. Even now, the energy within him pulses and shifts, responding to his emotions in ways he doesn't understand. Fine, he agrees. 3 days of training, then I'll meet your council. A wise decision. Marcarita turns to leave, then pauses. Whis, the council expects comprehensive reports on his progress. Of course, of course. Whis waves dismissively. We'll have high M presenting as a proper celestial in no time. Marcarita gives him a look that suggests she highly doubts this, then creates another dimensional rift with her staff and steps through, disappearing. Silence falls over the pocket dimension. She seems intense. Sakura finally comments. Marcarita takes her duties very seriously, Whis confirms. Angel attendants develop personalities that complement their destroyers. Lord Belmont is rather formal and methodical about his destruction, and so Marcarita reflects those qualities. And your god of destruction? Hinata asks. Lord Beerus. Whis chuckles. Temperamental, impulsive, fond of naps and fine dining. He destroys on whim as often as necessity. That doesn't sound reassuring, Sakura mutters. Whis shrugs elegantly. The system has worked for millions of years. Who are we to question it? Naruto shakes his head, trying to process everything. So I have 3 days to learn how to control powers that apparently could destroy universes. Then face a council that might decide to eliminate me anyway. A succinct summary, Whis agrees cheerfully. Though I think you'll find the training fascinating. Angels rarely take students. Can they return home first? Naruto asks, gesturing to Hinata and Sakura. I need to speak with Kakashi about this. Of course, though I recommend discretion regarding the full extent of what you've learned. Cosmic knowledge can be destabilizing for mortal societies. Whis taps his staff, and a smaller portal appears. This will return your friends to the exact moment and place we departed. Time hasn't passed there. Sakura hesitates. We're not leaving you alone with him, Naruto. I'll be fine, Naruto assures her, though he's far from certain himself. Tell Kakashi I'm on a special training assignment. I'll be back in 3 days. Hinata steps close to him, concern evident in her lavender eyes. Be careful, Naruto-kun. This power, these beings, they're beyond anything we've encountered. I know. He smiles, projecting more confidence than he feels. But that's never stopped me before. Hinata searches his face, then surprises him by pulling him into a tight embrace. 3 days, she whispers. Not a minute longer. When she pulls back, her expression has hardened into determination. If you're not back, I'll find a way to come after you, celestial beings or not. An admirable sentiment, Whis comments as Hinata and Sakura reluctantly step toward the portal. Though interdimensional travel without proper guidance is generally fatal. I'll be back, Naruto promises. Believe it. The portal closes behind his friends, leaving him alone with Whis in the surreal pocket dimension. Well then, Whis says brightly, shall we begin your first lesson in celestial power? I still don't understand how this happened, Naruto admits. Why me? An excellent first question. Whis waves his staff, and the landscape around them transforms into a vast cosmic display, galaxies, nebulae, and stars swirling around them. To understand your situation, you must first understand the true history of your world and the cosmic hierarchy. In the center of their display, a single bright point appears, expanding into the image of a being of pure light. This is the first angel, the original celestial being from whom all other angels descended. Before the Omni King, before the gods of destruction, before the current multiverse took form, the image shifts, showing the being separating into multiple entities of diminishing brightness. The first angel fragmented willingly, creating the celestial hierarchy that maintains reality. Most of its power was sealed away, considered too vast for any single entity to wield safely. Another shift, and now they see a small planet, Earth, with a single point of light descending to its surface. A tiny fragment, what you might call a spark, of the first angel's essence came to your world eons ago, interacting with early humans. This interaction created what you now call chakra, a diluted form of celestial energy that mortals could safely manipulate. The display zooms in on ancient figures, recognizably human, but with distinct features that remind Naruto of the Uzumaki clan. Your ancestors were particularly receptive to this energy, incorporating more of it into their genetic structure than most. The Uzumaki vitality, your extraordinary life force, your natural affinity for sealing techniques, all echo that ancient celestial contact. The images fast forward through history, eventually showing the Sage of Six Paths. What you call the Sage of Six Paths discovered how to access deeper levels of this energy. The tailed beasts, your eyes techniques, the Rinnegan, all are mortal approximations of celestial abilities, filtered through human understanding. Finally, the display shows the ruins of Uzushiogakure in the underwater chamber with the celestial tablet. The tablet was a safeguard, a Aled repository containing a much larger fragment of first angel energy, designed to activate only if the cosmic balance faced an existential threat. The images fade, returning them to the empty plane. So why did it activate now? Naruto asks. The war is over. The world is at peace. Whis' expression grows serious for the first time. That, Naruto Uzumaki, is the question that has the Celestial Council deeply concerned. For the tablet to awaken, something must be threatening not just your world, but the fundamental balance of reality itself. Naruto absorbs this, the weight of it settling uncomfortably on his shoulders. And I'm supposed to stop this threat. Perhaps. Whis conjures two simple wooden staffs, tossing one to Naruto. But first, you need to learn control. Shall we begin? As Naruto catches the staff, he feels the strange energy within him surge in response. The wood in his hand begins to glow with symbols similar to those on the ancient tablet. Fascinating, Whis murmurs. The power recognizes its own nature. This will be interesting indeed. In the vast, empty pocket dimension, under an impossible sky, Naruto's training as something more than human begins. In Konoha, exactly where and when they had left, Hinata and Sakura stumble slightly as reality reasserts itself around them. The hospital room appears unchanged, as if they never left. Did that really happen? Sakura whispers. Steadying herself against the examination table, Hinata activates her Byakugan, scanning the spot where the dimensional rift had appeared. There's residual energy, unlike anything I've ever seen. It was real. She turns to stare out the window at the peaceful village, her expression troubled. And Naruto-kun is out there somewhere, dealing with beings that can't see. Destroying planets a normal part of existence. He'll be okay, Sakura says, though uncertainty tinges her voice. It's Naruto. He always finds a way. Hinata nods, but her hands clench at her sides. 3 days, she murmurs. Then we find a way to reach him, with or without celestial help. Unnoticed by either woman, a small point of light flickers briefly in the center of the room, a tiny fragment of celestial energy. Left behind when the dimensions parted. It hovers, pulses once, then disappears into the air, scattering invisible particles of power throughout Konoha. The countdown has begun. Chapter 1 End Chapter 2, Celestial Intervention. Existence bends differently beyond mortal realms. In the pocket dimension where Whis conducts his instruction, time flows like liquid crystal. Sometimes rushing forward in cascades, other moments suspended in prismatic stillness. The horizon curves upward rather than outward, creating a bowl of reality where celestial bodies drift like Minu's fish through an ocean of dimensionality. Naruto stands at the center of this impossible geography, perspiration beading his brow as he struggles to maintain focus. 26 hours have passed by his internal clock, though whether that translates to minutes or millennia in his home dimension remains unknowable. Again, Whis instructs, his melodic voice echoing strangely as if speaking from multiple positions simultaneously. Separate your consciousness from temporal perception. You must learn to exist between moments. Naruto exhales slowly, his customary orange-black attire replaced by a simple white garment that shifts and flows with the ambient energies of this place. The fabric seems almost alive, responding to fluctuations in his developing celestial power. I'm trying, he responds. Frustration evident despite his best efforts. But it's like grasping smoke. An apt metaphor, Whis acknowledges, circling his pupil with effortless grace. Though celestial energy is like smoke and more like the concept of smoke, the Platonic ideal from which all manifestations derive their properties. He taps Naruto lightly between the shoulder blades with his staff. Your difficulty stems from thinking like a mortal. You attempt to manipulate energy as you would chakra, pushing, pulling, molding. Celestial power responds not to force but to intention. It does not obey, it accompanies. Around them, the landscape shifts again. Mountains of crystalline light rise and dissolve. Rivers of stardust flow upward toward an impossible sun that casts shadows in directions that have no names in human language. The first angel's essence resonates with primal concepts. Whis continues, materialization, a sphere of pure energy between his palms. Time, space, existence, non-existence, creation, destruction. These are not forces to be channeled but aspects of your expanding awareness. Naruto closes his eyes, searching for that strange reservoir of power he's felt growing within him. Unlike chakra, which flows through pathways like water through canals, this energy permeates his entire being, not just physical but metaphysical, extending beyond the boundaries of his body into realms of pure concept. I feel it, he murmurs, but it's everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Yes, Whis encourages, rare approval coloring his tone. Now, rather than trying to gather it, simply acknowledge its presence. Recognize yourself as a focal point of awareness within the energy, not separate from it. Naruto follows the instruction, abandoning his instinctive approach of chakra manipulation. Instead of reaching for power, he allows himself to become aware of already existing within it, like realizing one has been standing in an ocean while searching for water. Something shifts. The air around Naruto shimmers, reality rippling outward from his form like concentric rings on a disturbed pond. His eyelids flutter open, revealing irises that momentarily gleam with otherworldly light. Fascinating, Whis observes. Your eyes briefly manifested the celestial refraction. Progress indeed. Naruto blinks, his vision clearing to reveal the pocket dimension from an entirely new perspective. Where before he saw only the strange landscape, now he perceives underlying currents of reality, threads of possibility, nexus points where dimensions touch, the very grammar of existence written in a language he somehow understands despite never having learned it. Everything looks different, he breathes. I can see patterns, connections. You're perceiving reality's fundamental structure. Whis explains, appearing genuinely pleased. Most celestial beings require centuries to develop this awareness. Your progress is remarkable, concerning, but remarkable. Naruto turns slowly, absorbing the kaleidoscopic information flooding his enhanced senses. Why concerning? Power developing too rapidly can outpace wisdom, Whis responds, his levity momentarily subdued. It's like giving a child access to world-ending weapons before they've learned restraint. A flicker of irritation crosses Naruto's features. I'm not a child. By celestial standards, you're less than an infant. Whis counters without malice. I myself am older than your solar system, and I'm considered relatively young among angels. The statement lands with quiet impact, reminding Naruto of the vast gulf between his mortal experience and the beings now involved in his fate. Even Kagaya, with her near godlike power, would be insignificant compared to these celestial entities. How many are there? Naruto asks. Angels, I mean. 18 official angel attendants, one for each universe's god of destruction, Whis explains, conjuring a visual representation, 18 glowing figures arranged in a circle. Plus the Grand Priest, who serves as attendant to Zeno, the Omni King. The display shifts, showing a diminutive figure above the angels with immeasurable power condensed into an almost childlike form. Zeno could erase multiple universes with a thought, Whis continues conversationally, as if discussing weather patterns. He's done so before when displeased. Naruto stares at the representation, a chill running through him despite the inherent warmth of the pocket dimension. And where does the first angel fit into this hierarchy? At this, Whis' expression grows contemplative. That's rather complicated. The first angel existed before the current structure, before Zeno, before the universes as they're now arranged. Some believe the first angel's power was the raw material from which everything else was fashioned. He disperses the visual with a casual wave, which makes your situation particularly delicate. You're developing abilities that theoretically exist outside the established order, powers that don't necessarily answer to the current authorities. Is that why Marcarita seemed afraid? Naruto asks, recalling the teal-skinned angel's carefully controlled reaction. Whis laughs, the sound chiming like crystal bells. Marcarita doesn't experience fear as you understand it. But yes, your emergence represents an unknown variable. In a system that has maintained equilibrium for millions of years. Celestial beings value order above almost everything else. He produces 2 goblets filled with luminescent liquid from seemingly nowhere. Enough theory. You must be parched after all that metaphysical exertion. Naruto accepts the offered drink cautiously. What is it? Distilled starlight with a hint of dimensional vapor, Whis replies cheerfully. A celestial refreshment. Quite invigorating. The liquid glimmers with tiny points of light, reminiscent of the night sky concentrated into consumable form. Naruto takes a tentative sip and gasps as sensation floods his system. Not merely taste but something more fundamental, as if he's drinking pure existence. This is overwhelming the first time. I know, Whis acknowledges. Your senses are expanding beyond mortal parameters. The adjustment period can be disorienting. Naruto takes another sip, more prepared this time. The liquid seems to harmonize with the energy developing within him, accelerating his awareness. I have questions, he states, setting down the goblet. Naturally, if I'm developing these powers because of some cosmic threat, shouldn't you be telling me what that threat is? How am I supposed to face it if I don't know what it is? Whis tilts his head, staff balanced perfectly in one hand. An excellent point. Unfortunately, I don't know what the threat is. The tablet's activation was unexpected, a surprise to the entire celestial hierarchy. Then how do you know there is one? The celestial tablet was created with specific parameters. It wouldn't activate without cause. Whis paces thoughtfully, his movements leaving faint trails of light in the dimensional fabric. Something has changed in the cosmic equilibrium, anything significant enough to trigger safeguards established at the dawn of the current multiverse. Naruto processes this, his mind working with newfound clarity. So I'm developing these powers to face a threat no one can identify. And meanwhile, the celestial authorities see me as a potential threat myself. A succinct summary, Whis agrees. Though I suspect the Celestial Council has theories they haven't shared with individual attendants like myself and Marcarita. Great, Naruto mutters. Politics exists even among angels. This draws another crystalline laugh from Whis. Of course, power structures exist at every level of reality. The celestial hierarchy has its factions, its secrets, its agendas, though on a scale that makes your world's political machinations seem like children squabbling over toys. He taps his staff lightly against the dimensional floor, causing ripples of possibility to spread outward. Now, shall we continue your practical education? Theory has its place, but mastery requires application. Naruto sets aside his many questions, recognizing the limited time remaining before his promised appearance before the Celestial Council. What's next? Movement, Whis replies. Angels don't travel through space. We exist at our destination by temporarily ceasing to exist at our origin. It's not teleportation as mortals understand it, but a fundamental shift in existential locality. Naruto frowns. That sounds impossible. From a mortal perspective, certainly. Your minds are conditioned to perceive reality as continuous and linear. Whis gestures to the shifting landscape around them. But reality is more malleable than that. Position is merely a convention, not an absolute. He demonstrates, disappearing from one location and appearing instantly at another 20 meters away, not with the blur of high-speed movement but with the seamless transition of a thought-changing focus. Now you try, Whis instructs. Don't think about moving that position. He indicates a spot near a crystalline formation. Simply recognize that you are already there, and allow your awareness to confirm it. Naruto stares at the designated location, instinctively gathering chakra before catching himself. This isn't a body flicker technique or even the flying thunder god. It requires a fundamentally different approach. He closes his eyes, visualizing himself at the target position. Then attempts to shift his perception as Whis described, to recognize his existence there as a fact already established rather than a destination to reach. For a moment, nothing happens. Then reality hiccups. Naruto feels a strange discontinuity, as if he momentarily exists everywhere and nowhere, before snapping into coherence at the crystalline formation. The transition leaves him momentarily dizzy, his mortal mind struggling to process the experience of bypassing physical space entirely. Excellent first attempt. Whis appears beside him instantly. Though, you brought some dimensional distortion with you. See there. He points to a small tear in the fabric of reality near Naruto's feet, a tiny rift leaking prismatic energy. Is that bad? Naruto asks, concerned. In a training dimension, no. In your home world, such tears could allow cross-dimensional entities access to your reality. Whis seals the rift with a casual gesture. Control will come with practice. Naruto examines his hands, noticing faint luminescence beneath his skin, the celestial energy responding to his use of it. It feels different from chakra. Less like a tool and more like changing what I am. A perceptive observation, Whis acknowledges. Chakra is something you have. Celestial energy is something you are becoming. The distinction is crucial. For the next several hours, they practice this form of movement, existence transfer rather than physical displacement. Naruto gradually improves, the dimensional distortions diminishing with each attempt, though never quite disappearing entirely. Your mortal form retains certain limitations, Whis explains after a particularly successful transition. Complete mastery may require physical transformation. You mean I'd have to become like you? Blue skin and everything. Whis chuckles. Not necessarily. The first angel's power might manifest differently in a mortal vessel. You're unprecedented, after all. The training continues, shifting from movement to perception. Whis teaches Naruto to expand his awareness beyond normal dimensional boundaries, to perceive multiple timelines simultaneously, see the probability waves of future events, to recognize the energetic signatures of different universes. Each universe has its own flavor, for lack of a better term, Whis explains as they obs. Swirling representations of the multiverse. Universe 7, your home, tastes of potential and volatility. Universe 11, where Marcarita serves, carries notes of order and discipline. Naruto focuses on the swirling energies, surprised to discover he can indeed perceive these differences, not as visual distinctions but as something more fundamental, like recognizing different musical tones played on instruments he's never encountered. I can feel them, he confirms. Universe 6 feels almost familiar, like a distant cousin of our own. Very good. Whis seems genuinely impressed. Universe 6 and 7 are indeed paired universes, reflections of similar creative principles. Your instincts are developing nicely. As Naruto's awareness expands, he begins to perceive the pocket dimension itself more clearly, its boundaries, its connection points to other realities, the underlying structure maintaining its existence. This place, he realizes suddenly, it's not just a location. It's part of you, isn't it? Whis raises an eyebrow, pleasantly surprised. Indeed, angels can externalize portions of our consciousness as dimensional spaces. This pocket reality is an extension of my own awareness, a thought given form and substance. An idea forms in Naruto's mind, reckless perhaps, but driven by an intuitive understanding of his developing abilities. If this dimension is essentially a thought made real, perhaps. He closes his eyes, focusing on the celestial energy suffusing his being. Rather than trying to shape it externally as he would chakra, he allows it to rest. To his intention, to extend his awareness outward, creating a space that reflects his consciousness. The pocket dimension trembles. Whis' eyes widen as he perceives what Naruto is attempting. Wait, you're not ready for. Reality fractures around them, not violently but like a cell dividing. The space they occupy separates, one portion remaining connected to Whis while another splits away, forming a new pocket of existence linked to Naruto's developing celestial awareness. Inside this newborn dimension, familiar elements take shape, trees reminiscent of Konoha's forests but composed of crystalline light. A sky that shifts between the blue of Earth and the star-filled void of space, terrain that echoes training grounds while incorporating impossible geometries. Fascinating, Whis murmurs, examining the newly formed reality. You've created a dimensional offspring, a space between spaces. Crude but remarkably stable for a first attempt. Naruto opens his eyes, momentarily disoriented by the manifestation of his unconscious intent. I did this. Indeed. Whis studies the hybrid environment with academic interest. Your mortal experiences provide the template, but the structure is decidedly celestial. A physical manifestation of your transitional state. Pride mingles with alarm as Naruto absorbs the implications. He created a dimension. A small one, perhaps, but a separate reality nonetheless, without fully understanding how he did it. As this, aloud, he asks uncertainly. Aloud, Whis repeats, amused. There's no cosmic law prohibiting dimension creation. Though typically, beings capable of such feats are already integrated into the celestial hierarchy. He taps the ground with his staff, analyzing the dimensional properties. However, unregistered realities can cause administrative complications. The Celestial Council maintains a comprehensive index of all official dimensions. The implications slowly dawn on Naruto. So I just created an off-the-books dimension. Precisely. Whis confirms cheerfully. How delightfully rebellious of you. Before Naruto can respond, the atmosphere shifts, a subtle pressure building as if reality itself holds its breath. Whis' expression changes from amusement to resignation. Ah, he sighs. It seems your dimensional creation has attracted attention more quickly than anticipated. The space between worlds parts like a curtain, and Marcarita steps through the opening, her expression a study in controlled displeasure. Behind her follows another figure, a male angel with lavender skin and white hair styled in an elegant updo. Carrying a staff similar to those of Whis and Marcarita. Creating unregistered dimensions now, Whis. Marcarita's voice carries the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. The council expressly instructed basic training only. My dear Marcarita, Whis replies, unperturbed, I provided instructions on celestial awareness. Our student simply showed remarkable initiative. The lavender angel circles Naruto's created dimension, examining its properties with analytical detachment. Fascinating hybrid structure. Mortal conceptual framework with celestial underpinnings. Most irregular. Naruto Uzumaki. Marcarita addresses him directly. You were granted 3 days to prepare for evaluation, not to begin reshaping reality according to your whims. Naruto meets her gaze steadily. It wasn't intentional. I was learning about dimensional awareness and, it just happened. Just happened, she repeats with cold skepticism. Celestial powers don't just happen. They respond to intention, conscious or otherwise. The lavender angel completes his inspection, returning to Marcarita's side. The structure is surprisingly stable. There's resonance with first angel energy patterns, particularly in the dimensional boundaries. Thank you for your assessment, Korn, Marcarita acknowledges before turning back to Naruto. This incident demonstrates precisely why untrained mortals shouldn't possess celestial abilities. Unintentional reality manipulation can have catastrophic consequences. Whis interjects smoothly, perhaps we should view this as an opportunity rather than a transgression. Naruto's dimensional creation provides valuable data on how first angel energy manifests through a mortal conduit. The council will determine how to interpret these events, Marcarita states firmly. Which brings me to the purpose of our visit. The timeline has changed. Your presence is required immediately. Naruto tenses. You said I had 3 days. Circumstances have evolved, Korn explains, his voice carrying musical undertones. Temporal anomalies have been detected in multiple universes, corresponding with your awakening. The council has prioritized your evaluation. What kind of anomalies? Naruto asks. The 3 angels exchange glances, a silent communication passing between them that transcends verbal language. Reality echoes, Marcarita finally explains. Moments where time briefly runs backward or loops. Dimensional thin spots where universes momentarily bleed together. All bearing your energetic signature. That's impossible, Naruto protests. I've been here the entire time. Your conscious actions are not necessarily the issue, Korn clarifies. First angel energy responds to deeper levels of intention, your subconscious desires, fears. Even dreams can manifest as reality fluctuations until you achieve complete mastery. The implications hit Naruto with the force of a tailed beast bomb. His dreams of floating among stars, his thoughts of home, his concerns for his friends, all potentially causing ripples across reality without his awareness. I need more time, he insists. If what you're saying is true, I need learn control before meeting this council. Time is precisely what we cannot afford, Marcarita counters. Each moment increases the probability of a catastrophic reality breach. Whis, who has been uncharacteristically quiet, finally speaks. Perhaps a compromise. Allow me to accompany Naruto to his home dimension briefly, to address any concerns there and retrieve items that might assist his transition. It would provide valuable context for the council's evaluation. Marcarita considers this, her perfect features arranged in an expression of careful calculation. The risk is manageable, Whis interrupts gently. I'll maintain a containment field around him at all times. Any reality fluctuations will be confined to my immediate sphere of influence. I second the proposal, Korn unexpectedly adds. Contextual understanding of the subject's native environment would enhance our assessment protocols. A moment of silence stretches as Marcarita weighs the suggestion against her evident desire for immediate action. Finally, she inclines her head slightly. 6 hours, she concedes. Return to your native dimension, address essential matters, then report directly to the Celestial Council. I will inform them of this arrangement. Relief floods through Naruto. 6 hours isn't much, but it's enough to speak with Kakashi, to see Hinata again, to prepare his precious people for whatever might come next. Thank you, he says sincerely. Marcarita's expression remains impassive. Don't mistake procedural accommodation for leniency, Naruto Uzumaki. The Council's primary concern remains cosmic stability. If you represent a threat to that stability, she leaves the sentence unfinished, but the implication hangs in the dimensional air like a blade. Shall we depart? Whis asks brightly, deliberately lightening the atmosphere. I've been curious about your world's cuisine. Perhaps there will be time for a small sampling. The containment field, Whis, Marcarita reminds him sternly. Of course. With a flourish of his staff, Whis creates a subtle iridescent bubble around himself and Naruto. Complete dimensional isolation. Any fluctuations will remain contained within this field. Korn produces a small crystalline device from his robes. Take this dimensional transponder. The Council expects your arrival in exactly 6 hours, regardless of relative time passage. Whis accepts the device with a nod. We shall be punctual. With a final warning look from Marcarita and a curious nod from Korn, the two angels depart through a dimensional rift, leaving Whis and Naruto alone once more. Well, Whis says cheerfully, that went better than expected. Better? Naruto questions incredulously. They've moved up my deadline and apparently I'm causing reality problems across multiple universes without even knowing it. Yes, but you created your first dimension. Whis gestures to the hybrid reality still connected to their location. Most celestial beings require centuries of training before achieving such a feat. It's quite remarkable. He taps his staff, causing Naruto's created dimension to shrink and condense into a small crystalline sphere, which he hands to the bewildered shinobi. A keepsake of your first creation, Whis explains. Properly contained now, of course. Shall we depart for your home world? Naruto pockets the dimensional sphere, momentarily distracted by the strange sensation of holding a collapsed reality in his hand. How does this work? Will time have passed in Konoha? An excellent question. Whis creates a dimensional portal with an elegant gesture. Time flows differently between dimensions. In your absence, approximately 12 hours have passed in your native reality. 12 hours. Naruto frowns. But you told Sakura and Hinata they'd return to the exact moment we left. For them, yes, I created a temporal loop specific to their re-entry point. Whis steps toward the portal, gesturing for Naruto to follow. A different matter for your return. Maintaining temporal consistency across multiple translocations would require unnecessary energy expenditure. Before Naruto can question this casual manipulation of time, they step through the portal and reality shifts around them. The abstract geometries of the pocket dimension dissolve, replaced by the familiar surroundings of Konoha, specifically the top of the Hokage monument where their journey began. Night has fallen over the village, lights twinkling below like earthbound stars. The containment field Whis created shimmers subtly around them, visible only as a slight distortion when viewed from certain angles. How charming, Whis observes, taking in the village vista. Quite primitive by universal standards, of course. But there's an appealing rustic quality to it. Naruto barely registers the comment, his enhanced senses already stretching outward, reconnecting with the place that grounds his identity. Despite the celestial power flowing through him, the simple sensation of Konoha's night air fills him with profound relief, a reminder of who he is beyond these new abilities. We should find Kakashi, he says, orienting himself toward the Hokage Tower where a light still burns in the upper window. And Hinata, she'll be worried. Lead on, Whis agrees. Though remember, we remain within the containment field. Anyone you wish to interact with must enter this bubble. They descend from the monument, Naruto automatically channeling chakra to his feet before realizing he could simply transfer his existence to the ground below. The dichotomy between his shinobi training and developing celestial abilities creates a strange cognitive dissonance. As they approach the administrative district, Naruto notices Anbu's shadows tracking their movement along rooftops, clearly alerted to the presence of an unknown entity accompanying him. Word of their arrival spreads quickly. By the time they reach the Hokage Tower, Kakashi waits at the entrance, flanked by Shikamaru and two masked Anbu operatives. Naruto, Kakashi greets him with careful neutrality, his visible eye taking in Whis' exotic appearance. We weren't expecting you back so soon. It's complicated, Naruto replies, stopping at a respectful distance. This is Whis. He's not from around here. So I gathered, Kakashi responds dryly. Hinata and Sakura provided a rather interesting report about your departure. Whis steps forward, bowing with elegant formality. Greetings, Lord Hokage. I am Whis, angel attendant to Lord Beerus, god of destruction for Universe 7. I've been instructing Naruto in the management of his developing celestial abilities. Kakashi blinks, his practiced composure momentarily faltering before recovering. I see. Perhaps we should continue this conversation inside. I'm afraid we must remain within this containment field, Whis explains, gesturing to the subtle barrier surrounding them. Cosmic regulations, you understand. Of course, Kakashi replies with the tone of someone who understands nothing of the sort but is professionally obligated to pretend otherwise. Shikamaru, please, notify Hinata Hyuga of Naruto's return. Anbu, maintain perimeter security but keep your distance from our visitors. As the others depart to follow these instructions, Kakashi steps forward to enter the containment field. His body passing through the barrier with a subtle shimmer. Now, he says once inside, perhaps you can explain what exactly is happening with my future successor. Whis launches into an abbreviated explanation of celestial hierarchies, the first angel, and Naruto's unprecedented awakening. Kakashi listens with remarkable composure, asking occasional clarifying questions that reveal a mind rapidly processing implications far beyond normal shinobi concerns. So to summarize, Kakashi says when Whis concludes, Naruto has accidentally inherited powers that potentially surpass gods, is causing reality disturbances across multiple universes, and must appear before a celestial court that may decide to neutralize him as a threat. A succinct summary, Whis confirms cheerfully. Kakashi turns to Naruto. And how are you handling all this? The question catches Naruto off guard, a simple, human concern amid cosmic complexities. I'm adjusting. It's a lot to process. I imagine so. Kakashi's expression softens slightly. What do you need from us? Before Naruto can answer, a new presence approaches rapidly, Hinata, moving with the enhanced speed of an elite Jonin. She slows as she nears the containment field, her Byakugan active and studying the barrier with evident fascination. Naruto-kun, she calls, relief evident in her voice. You're back. Only briefly, Naruto admits as she steps through the containment field to join them. We have 6 hours before I need to meet this celestial council. Hinata takes his hand, and Naruto feels a strange resonance, the celestial energy within him responding to her proximity in unexpected ways. For a moment, his perception shifts, and he sees not just Hinata but countless potential versions of her across probability streams. All converging on this moment, this connection. Your chakra, she murmurs, Byakugan examining him intently. It's completely transformed. An astute observation, Whis interjects. What you perceive is no longer merely chakra but a hybrid energy system, celestial power using chakra pathways as its initial conduit before establishing its own network. Hinata releases Naruto's hand reluctantly. Is it hurting him? Quite the contrary, Whis assures her. The transformation is harmonious, if unprecedented. Though mastery will require significant adaptation. I need to speak with Kurama. Naruto suddenly realizes, concerned about how these changes might affect his tailed beast partner. and gather some personal items if I'm going to be away longer. Of course, Kakashi agrees. Hinata, would you accompany Naruto to his residence? I'd like a few words with Whis regarding these cosmic regulations. Understanding the Hokage's intent to gather more information, Naruto nods gratefully. We'll need to stay within the containment field, he reminds Hinata as they depart. It moves with us, she asks, studying the subtle barrier. Indeed, Whis confirms, momentarily turning from his conversation with Kakashi. The field is anchored to my staff. As long as you remain within approximately 20 meters of it, you'll be within the containment zone. With this understanding, Naruto and Hinata make their way toward his apartment, the iridescent bubble moving with them like an invisible extension of Whis' authority. The village is quiet at this hour. Though curious faces appear in windows as they pass, the subtle distortion of the containment field visible enough to attract attention. How much did Sakura explain? Naruto asks as they walk. Everything she could, Hinata replies, though I'm not sure anyone truly understood. Angels, gods of destruction, multiple universes. It sounds like mythology, not reality. I know, I'm still struggling to process it myself. Naruto hesitates, then adds, I've created a dimension. A small one, but still, an entire reality shaped from my thoughts. Hinata's steps falter momentarily. That's difficult to comprehend. Tell me about it. He manages a small smile. Yesterday I was worried about diplomatic meetings. Now I'm apparently causing temporal anomalies across multiple universes. They reach his apartment building, climbing the stairs in contemplative silence. Inside his modest dwelling, Naruto immediately senses something different, a subtle energetic shift that hadn't been present before. Someone's been here, he notes, enhanced senses detecting disturbances in the ambient chakra patterns. Hinata activates her Byakugan, scanning the apartment. There's residual energy, similar to what remained after Whis opened that portal in the hospital. Naruto moves to the center of the living area, extending his awareness as Whis taught him. Beyond normal sensory perception, he detects traces of celestial energy, tiny fragments that somehow found their way here during his absence. It's like breadcrumbs, he murmurs. Particles of celestial power scattered throughout the village. Is that dangerous? Hinata asks, concerned. I don't know. Naruto focuses on the scattered energy, attempting to draw it toward him. To his surprise, the particles respond, flowing like luminous dust to gather around his outstretched hand. They recognize you, Hinata observes, watching the phenomenon with her Byakugan. Like they're returning home. As the celestial fragments reintegrate with Naruto's energy system, he experiences a strange feedback. Flashes of Konoha seen from multiple perspectives, fragments of conversations, emotional impressions from those who unknowingly came into contact with the particles. They've been absorbing information, he realizes. Like tiny sensors scattered throughout the village. The implications are both fascinating and disturbing. If mere fragments of his developing power can function as independent sensory nodes, what other capacities might manifest without his conscious direction? Setting aside this concern for the moment, Naruto moves through his apartment, gathering essential items, changes of clothing, weapons, personal mementos. What does one pack when facing judgment before celestial beings? Naruto-kun, Hinata says softly as he stuffs items into a backpack. What happens if this council decides you're a threat? The question hangs heavily in the air between them. I don't know, he admits. Whis implied they have means to neutralize powers like mine. Or worse. Hinata's expression hardens with determination. Then don't go. We can find another way. Kakashi-sama could declare this a hostile action against Konoha. Mobilize allies. Against beings who can destroy planets with a thought. Naruto shakes his head. I won't put everyone at risk like that. Besides, he pauses, struggling to articulate the strange certainty growing within him. I think I need to understand this power. If it activated because of some cosmic threat, running away won't solve anything. Then I'm coming with you, Hinata states firmly. That's not possible. A melodic voice interjects as Whis appears in the doorway, having apparently concluded his conversation with Kakashi. The Celestial Council's members exist in a realm mortals cannot physically enter without special dispensation. Naruto turns to face the angel. Then get that dispensation. Hinata's coming with me. Whis raises an eyebrow, studying the pair with new interest. You care deeply for this one. She's precious to me, Naruto confirms without hesitation. And she has a unique perspective that could be valuable to your council. Her Byakugan perceives energy patterns differently than anyone else. A visual dojutsu, Whis muses. Yes, I detected its unusual properties earlier. Still, the council has protocols. Then change them, Naruto interrupts. A hint of celestial authority unconsciously entering his voice. The air in the apartment momentarily distorts as reality itself seems to respond to his insistence. Whis' eyes widen slightly. Fascinating. You're already beginning to impose conceptual authority, bending probability toward your desired outcome. He taps his staff thoughtfully against the floor. Perhaps an observer from your realm would indeed provide useful context for the council's deliberations. So she can come. Naruto presses. I shall submit the request, Whis concedes. Though I make no guarantees of approval. Hinata steps forward, her posture reflecting the quiet confidence she's developed. I can provide insights into how Naruto's abilities interact with our world's energy systems. My clan has documented celestial observations for generations through our dojutsu. This catches Whis' attention. Your clan has celestial records. The Hyuga archives contain astronomical observations dating back thousands of years. Hinata confirms, including accounts of what we called star visitors, who descended to Earth in ancient times. Whis' expression shifts to genuine interest. Now that is potentially valuable information. The council does value historical documentation, particularly regarding early celestial contact. A subtle chime emanates from the crystalline device Korn provided, drawing Whis' attention. Ah, a message from Marcarita. It seems our presence has been requested earlier than anticipated. We must depart within the hour. That's not enough time, Naruto protests. I haven't even spoken with Kurama yet. The Nine Tails. Whis questions. Ah yes, the fragmented chakra construct residing within you. Actually, I've been meaning to address that situation. He approaches Naruto, staff glowing with subtle energy. Your tailed beast companion has been in a state of suspended animation since your celestial awakening began. The transformation of our energy system temporarily disrupted the symbiotic connection. Alarm floods through Naruto. Is he okay? Merely dormant, Whis assures him. Though awakening him will require re-establishing connection patterns compatible with your new energetic structure. May I? After a moment's hesitation, Naruto nods. Whis places the head of his staff gently against Naruto's abdomen, where the seal containing Kurama resides. Celestial energy flows from the staff, resonating with the dormant tailed beast chakra. Within Naruto's mindscape, light floods the previously darkened space where Kurama resides. The massive fox stirs, Nine Tails twitching as consciousness returns. What is happening? Kurama's deep voice reverberates through Naruto's awareness. This power. Kurama, Naruto, projects his consciousness into the mindscape, appearing before the fox. You're okay. The Nine Tails studies him with ancient eyes that widen in shock. Naruto, you're different. Kurama rises to his full height. Tails fanning behind him. Your chakra has transformed into something I haven't felt since. Since when? Naruto presses. Since before the Sage of Six Paths. Before the 10 Tails. Kurama leans closer, examining Naruto's transformed energy. This is the power that came before chakra, the original force from which all tailed beasts were eventually derived. In the physical world, Whis nods with satisfaction. The chakra construct has reintegrated with your awareness. Though the relationship will necessarily change as your transformation progresses. Naruto opens his eyes, the connection with Kurama now restored. He recognizes the energy, says it predates even the Sage of Six Paths. Of course, Whis confirms. The tailed beasts are tertiary derivatives of celestial energy, greatly diluted and filtered through multiple transformative processes. Your fox friend represents a distant echo of the power you're now accessing directly. This revelation adds yet another layer of complexity to Naruto's evolving understanding of his situation. If the mighty tailed beasts, beings of such immense chakra that they were considered natural disasters incarnate, are merely diluted echoes of celestial power, then the forces he's beginning to wield are truly beyond mortal comprehension. Be careful, Naruto, Asterisk asterisk, Kurama's voice rumbles through their connection. This power, it could consume your humanity if you're not vigilant. The warning strikes a chord of concern that has been building within Naruto since this transformation began. As his awareness expands beyond mortal limitations, will he still remain himself? Will he still be Naruto Uzumaki of the Hidden Leaf, or will he become something else entirely, something that merely wears his face and carries his memories? We should complete our preparations, Whis announces, oblivious to or perhaps simply unconcerned with Naruto's existential dilemma. The council is not known for its patience. Hinata senses Naruto's turmoil and takes his hand, anchoring him to the present moment. I'll gather the relevant Hyuga records while you finish here, she says. If I'm to advocate for you before this council, I'll need proper documentation. Her practical focus helps center Naruto's thoughts. Right, I should speak with Kakashi again before we leave. They return to the Hokage Tower, where Kakashi has assembled a small group including Shikamaru, Sakura, and surprisingly, Sasuke, recently returned from one of his solitary missions beyond the village boundaries. I sent a hawk when we heard you were back, Kakashi explains as they enter his office, the containment field encompassing the room. Thought you might want to see your old teammate before, whatever comes next. Sasuke stands by the window, his expression characteristically unreadable. So, angel powers. Naruto manages a smile at the understated greeting. Something like that. HN. Sasuke activates his Rinnegan, studying the celestial energy now flowing through his friend. Impressive. Almost makes my eyes look ordinary. Coming from Sasuke, this is practically effusive praise. I've updated the allied nations regarding your status. Kakashi informs Naruto. Without specific details, of course. Simply that you're undertaking specialized training related to an emerging situation. Thank you, Naruto says. Grateful for the Hokage's discretion. The idea of other nations learning about celestial beings and cosmic hierarchies could cause unprecedented panic or, worse, attempts to somehow weaponize this knowledge. Sakura approaches, medical instincts overriding any reservations about the strange containment field. How are you feeling? Any physical symptoms from these changes? Nothing negative, Naruto assures her. Actually, I feel better than ever. Stronger, more aware, fascinating, she murmurs, clinical interest evident. Your cellular structure must be adapting to channel this energy. I'd love to run some tests. Perhaps another time, Whis interjects politely. We have approximately 30 minutes before our scheduled departure. The reminder brings a somber mood to the gathering. Naruto looks at the faces of his precious people, the bonds that define him beyond power or titles. Whatever awaits him before the Celestial Council, these connections represent what he's fighting to protect. I need you all to be prepared, he says seriously. If I don't come back, you will, Sasuke interrupts with flat certainty. And if these celestial beings try to keep you, he'll learn why the Uchiha were feared even by gods. Such spirited loyalty, Whis observes with amusement. Though I must caution against threatening entities capable of erasing entire universes with a thought. Sasuke merely shrugs, unimpressed. The man who once fought the Ten Tails is not easily intimidated, even by cosmic powers. Hinata returns, carrying an ancient scroll sealed with Hyuga clan markings. I have the celestial records, she announces. My father sends his regards and reminds you of your promise to return. Naruto doesn't recall making such a promise but appreciates Hiyashi's confidence in him nonetheless. Time grows short, Whis announces, consulting the dimensional transponder. We should prepare for transit. The group moves to the roof of the Hokage Tower, providing space for whatever method of interdimensional travel Whis intends to employ. The night sky above Konoha glitters with stars, distant suns that take on new significance now that Naruto understands the true scale of the multiverse. Will the containment field protect Hinata during transit? Naruto asks as Whis prepares to create a dimensional gateway. Indeed, though she may find the experience disorienting. Whis turns to Hinata. Interdimensional travel affects mortal physiology in unpredictable ways. Focus on Naruto's energy signature. It will help anchor your consciousness during the transition. Hinata nods, activating her Byakugan to maintain visual connection with Naruto's energy system. Final farewells are exchanged. Sasuke's silent nod conveying volumes, Sakura's fierce hug. Kakashi's hand on Naruto's shoulder communicating pride and concern in equal measure. Shikamaru's quiet, troublesome, masking genuine worry. "I'll be back," Naruto promises them all. "Believe it." Whis taps his staff against the rooftop, and reality parts before them. Unlike previous portals, this gateway shimmers with formal patterns and celestial symbols, an official passage recognized by cosmic authorities. "The council awaits," Whis announces. "Once we cross this threshold, you will be subject to celestial jurisdiction until your evaluation concludes." Naruto takes Hinata's hand, her presence beside him providing an essential reminder of his humanity as they prepare to face beings who might view such connections as irrelevant to cosmic concerns. "Stay close to me," he tells her, receiving a determined nod in response. Together, they step into the dimensional gateway. Reality dissolves around them, Konoha fading like a dream as they traverse the spaces between universes. Naruto feels his consciousness expanding to encompass the transition, while beside him, Hinata's grip tightens, her mortal senses struggling to process the unprocessable. Through the kaleidoscopic void between dimensions, structures begin to materialize, impossible architectures of light and concept, buildings composed of mathematical principles rather than physical materials, pathways that connect disparate points in spacetime through geometric shortcuts incomprehensible to mortal minds. They emerge onto a vast crystalline platform floating in a void filled with stars unlike any visible from Earth. Above them looms a structure that defies description, a palace formed from solidified time and space, its spires reaching toward conceptual heights rather than physical ones. "Welcome," Whis announces with ceremonial formality, "to the Celestial Nexus, seat of the cosmic hierarchy and home to the Celestial Council." Naruto feels the weight of ancient awareness focusing on him from all direct ions, unseen observers taking measure of the mortal who carries the first angel's power. Beside him, Hinata sways slightly, her Byakugan struggling to process the pure energy constituting everything around them. "They're waiting," Whis says, gesturing toward the impossible palace. "Your trial begins now." As they approach the towering structure, Naruto realizes that his journey has irrevocably altered not just his own fate but potentially that of all realities. Whatever judgment awaits within those crystalline halls will determine whether his newfound power represents salvation or catastrophe. For the multiverse he's only beginning to comprehend. With Hinata at his side and celestial energy flowing through his transformed being, Naruto Uzumaki steps forward to face the Celestial Council, whatever verdict they render upon the first mortal to inherit the power of the first angel. Chapter 2 Chapter 3, Trial of the Angels. The Celestial Nexus defies mortal understanding. Its core, Iders shift between physical and conceptual states, sometimes solid crystal pathways, other moments pure mathematical theorems given temporary form. Light emanates not from specific sources but from reality itself, casting no shadows because darkness cannot exist here except as a deliberate aesthetic choice. Naruto walks beside Hinata, following Whis through this impossible architecture. Each step resonates with subtle harmonics, as if the very structure acknowledges their presence. Hinata has deactivated her Byakugan. The pure energy constituting everything around them had overwhelmed her dojutsu, causing momentary disorientation. The council chamber lies ahead, Whis explains, his usual lightness subdued by formal protocol. "A few guidelines before we enter. Address the council collectively as esteemed celestials. Individual members may be addressed by title if they speak directly to you. Do not interrupt. Do not attempt to access celestial powers unless specifically instructed to demonstrate them." "They're afraid of me," Naruto realizes, sensing the heightened security measures woven into the very fabric of this place. "Not afraid," Whis corrects. "Concerned. First angel. Energy exists outside their jurisdiction. It represents an unknown variable in a system that has maintained equilibrium for millions of years." Hinata squeezes Naruto's hand reassuringly. "Remember who you are," she says softly. "No matter what power flows through you, your heart remains your own." The reminder grounds him momentarily, a human connection amid cosmic complexities. Yet even as he draws comfort from her presence, Naruto feels the celestial energy within him resonating with their surroundings, as if recognizing its original home. They approach towering doors composed of crystal. Ized time. Moments preserved like insects in amber, scenes from countless realities frozen in perpetual almost happening. The doors recognize Whis, parting silently to reveal the council chamber beyond. The space extends beyond Euclidean geometry, simultaneously vast and intimate. 12 elevated platforms arrange themselves in a perfect circle, though dimensions shift subtly between each position. Upon these platforms stand or float various celestial beings, some humanoid in appearance, others manifesting as complex geometric patterns or shimmering clouds of potentiality. At the circle's center hovers a platform of pristine white, clearly intended for those being evaluated. Below this central dais stretches an abyss of stars, not a decorative floor but actual deep space, visible through a dimensional aperture. "Come forward," intones a voice that somehow speaks directly into consciousness rather than through air vibrations. Whis guides them to the central platform. "Esteemed Celestials," he announces formally, "I present Naruto Uzumaki of Universe 7, bearer of awakened First Angel energy, and his witness, Hinata Hyuga of the same realm." Silence follows this introduction, not empty quiet but dense with unspoken communication, as celestial beings exchange thoughts without need for vocalization. Naruto feels these exchanges as pressure changes against his developing awareness. "Irregular," states one council member finally, a being of pure crystalline structure with voice like wind through mathematical equations. The mortal observer was not approved by collective consensus. "I requested her presence," Whis explains smoothly. The Hyuga clan possesses historical records of early celestial contact with their realm. Their visual prowess offers unique perspective on energy manifestation. Another council member leans forward, this one appearing more conventionally humanoid with pale green skin and elaborate robes. The council recognizes Whis' discretionary authority in evidence gathering. The observer may remain, though her testimony carries advisory weight only. Marcarita materializes beside the central platform, her perfect posture communicating disapproval despite her neutral expression. The council should note that Whis has developed unorthodox interest in this case. His objectivity may be compromised. "Noted," acknowledges a third council mem. A swirling vortex of light with voice like distant thunder. The proceedings continue regardless. "Our purpose remains evaluation, not adjudication." Naruto studies the assembled council, recognizing patterns of authority despite their alien nature. Like the 5-cage summit but on cosmic scale, representatives of different celestial jurisdictions, each with their own agenda and perspective. The crystalline being speaks again. "Naruto Uzumaki, you stand before the Celestial Council as an anomaly. A mortal vessel containing power that predates our current cosmic order. Explain how this came to pass." Naruto steps forward, maintaining the respectful demeanor of a shinobi before village elders. "Esteemed Celestials, I touched an ancient tablet in the ruins of my ancestral homeland. According to Whis, this tablet contained sealed First Angel energy that recognized something in my genetic structure, something awakened by my previous contact with Six Paths power." Simplified but accurate, Whis confirms. The vortex being swirls contemplatively. The celestial tablet was created as emergency contingency, a safeguard against existential threats to cosmic balance. Its activation implies such threat exists. Elaborate on unusual phenomena preceding your contact with the tablet. Naruto considers carefully. Nothing obvious presented itself as a threat. My world has been at peace since the Fourth Great Ninja War ended 2 years ago. Peace within singular planetary system means little against cosmic scale, observes a fourth council member, a being composed of interlocking geom. Trick shapes constantly rearranging themselves. Tablet activation parameters transcend conventional threat assessment metrics. Hinata steps forward tentatively. Esteemed Celestials, if I may offer relevant historical context. All attention shifts to her. Multiple forms of perception studying this mortal who dares address the council directly. After a moment of silent deliberation, the green-skinned humanoid nods permission. The Hyuga records document celestial visitations spanning thousands of years, Hinata explains, unrolling the ancient scroll she brought from her clan archives. Most significantly, an event approximately 1,000 years ago when star visitors warned the Hyuga ancestors about the forbidden consumption of celestial fruit that would twist divine energy into mortal abomination. Interest ripples through the council. Whis takes the scroll, examining its contents with sudden intensity. This references Kagaya Otsutsuki's consumption of the chakra fruit. He translates for the council's benefit. The celestial warning came too late. She had already assimilated its power, becoming what these records describe as a pale shadow of the first divergence. First divergence repeats the crystalline being, archaic terminology for incomplete celestial transformation. Significant connection to current anomaly. Marcarita steps closer, examining the scroll over Whis' shoulder. The linguistic patterns match authorized celestial communication protocols from that era. This appears to be authentic documentation of an authorized intervention attempt, which failed, Naruto adds. Recalling his battle against Kagaya, she became something neither human nor celestial, powerful enough to nearly enslave my entire world before being sealed away by her sons. Centuries later, she was temporarily revived during our war, and we had to seal her again. The council exchanges silent communication once more, vibrations of concern resonating through the chamber. Connection established, declares the vortex being. Tablet activation correlates with residual Otsutsuki energy signature in subject's realm. Preliminary hypothesis. Latent Otsutsuki threat triggered safeguard response. But we defeated Kagaya, Naruto objects. Sealed her away permanently with 6 paths, planetary devastation. Perhaps not as permanently as believed, suggests the green-skinned celestial. Or perhaps others of her kind remain active beyond your awareness. This possibility sends a chill through Naruto. The idea that more beings like Kagaya might exist, perhaps Eve. And more powerful, represents a threat beyond anything his world has prepared for. Theoretical discussion diverts from primary evaluation purpose, interjects a new voice, deep and resonant like crystal bells. From the highest platform descends a being of striking appearance. Tall, purple-skinned with elaborate white hair styled upward in regal attire. His presence commands immediate attention from all council members. Grand Priest. Whis acknowledges with formal bow. The council recognizes Grand Priest Makora, voice of Zeno, announces the crystalline being as all celestials bow in synchronized reverence. Naruto senses the immense authority this being carries, not simply power but hierarchical significance that transcends conventional understanding of rank. The Grand Priest studies him with ancient eyes that perceive not just physical form but all possible variations across probability streams. Naruto Uzumaki, the Grand Priest addresses him directly, the awakening of First A. NGEL energy raises questions that precede current cosmic administration. The Omni King observes these proceedings with interest. The implication that an even higher authority watches from afar adds new weight to these proceedings. Naruto stands straighter, instinctively channeling the determination that has carried him through countless battles. I didn't ask for these powers, he states clearly. But I won't reject the responsibility they bring. If they awaken to face a threat, then I'll use them to protect not just my world but any reality endangered by this Otsutsuki threat. ASMI. La flickers across the Grand Priest's features, there and gone so quickly it might have been imagined. Noble sentiment. However, intention means little without control. Demonstration required. He gestures to Marcarita, who steps forward with formal precision. I propose standardized capability assessment protocol. 3 trials to evaluate control, character, and combat capacity. The Council A.P. proves assessment by trial of the angels, the Grand Priest confirms. Marcarita shall administer, with Whis observing to ensure procedural compliance. Marcarita taps her staff against the floor, reading a dimensional doorway adjacent to the central platform. The trials must occur in contained environment. Designated testing grounds have been prepared. Wait. Naruto turns to Hinata, concerned about separation. What about? The mortal observer may witness from secure viewing area, Marcarita states, anticipating his objection. Her safety will be guaranteed, provided trial parameters remain unbreached. Hinata meets Naruto's gaze steadily. I'll be fine. Show them who you are, not just what you can do. With reluctant nod, Naruto follows Marcarita toward the dimensional doorway. Whis accompanies them, his usual cheerful demeanor replaced by formal observational mode. 3 trials, Marcarita explains as they approach the portal. Each evaluates different aspect of your developing abilities and character. Results determine Council's recommendations regarding your status. And if I fail? Naruto asks directly. Marcarita's expression remains impassive, then appropriate. Containment measures will be implemented. The euphemism's meaning is clear. Failure means neutralization, one way or another. With this understanding weighing on him, Naruto steps through the dimensional doorway into whatever tests await. The transition deposits them in vast open space unlike the formal architecture of the Nexus. Here, reality appears more malleable, less defined by permanent structure and more responsive to immediate intention. The ground beneath them feels solid yet simultaneously theoretical, as if existing primarily because they expect it to exist. Celestial training grounds, Whis explains, noting Naruto's curious expression. A neutral environment where reality responds to directed will rather than fixed parameters. Marcarita positions herself formally before Naruto. Staff held vertically at perfect center. First trial evaluates basic control over celestial functions. You will perform specified manipulations of space, time, energy, and probability according to precise instructions. She gestures, and reality ripples around them, forming training apparatus. Targets at impossible distances, objects suspended in temporal stasis, energy matrices requiring reconfiguration. Begin with spatial transference, she instructs. Relocate to each marked position in sequence without dimensional disruption. Naruto sees glowing markers placed at various points throughout the training ground, some nearby, others at extreme distances, a few oscillating between different states of reality. Drawing upon Whis' earlier lessons, he focuses on existential relocation rather than physical movement. His first attempt succeeds, a clean transfer to the nearest marker without the dimensional tearing that accompanied his earlier efforts. The second transfer covers greater distance but remains smooth. By the sixth marker, however, complications arise as he attempts to relocate to a point fluctuating between dimensional states. Naruto arrives split between realities, his physical form intact at the marker but his energy signature partially displaced into adjacent dimensional frequency. The disorientation momentarily disrupts his concentration. Imprecise, Marcarita notes clinically. Recalibrate your intentional focus to encompass dimensional variation. I'm trying, Naruto responds, struggling to reintegrate his divided awareness. Intent insufficient. Awareness must precede intention, she corrects. Perceive the target's complete dimensional signature before initiating transfer. Whis observes silently from the periphery, his expression suggesting he might offer different instruction if permitted, but protocol restricts his involvement. Naruto closes his eyes, extending his perception as Whis taught him, sensing beyond physical apparent to the underlying dimensional frequencies of his target. The marker exists simultaneously in multiple states, cycling between them in pattern he can now discern. Rather than transferring to where it appears, he must synchronize with its dimensional rhythm. His next attempt succeeds, a perfect transfer that maintains dimensional coherence despite the target's fluctuating nature. Marcarita acknowledges this with slight nod, then proceeds to more complex challenges. For what feels like hours, Naruto performs increasingly difficult manipulations of celestial energy, creating and dissolving matter. Adjusting temporal flow in localized fields, redirecting probability streams to produce specific outcomes. Some come naturally, while others require multiple attempts and careful instruction. Throughout the process, Marcarita remains strictly professional, neither encouraging nor discouraging, simply assessing performance against established standards. Yet Naruto senses subtle shifts in her evaluation, moments where his unconventional approaches to challenges seem to intrigue her despite her formal demeanor. Initial control assessment. Adequate for preliminary developmental stage, she finally concludes. Proceed to second trial. The training ground reshapes itself, forming what appears to be series of environmental scenarios, fragments of different realities connected by transitional spaces. Second trial evaluates character application of power, Marcarita explains. You will navigate scenarios presenting moral and ethical challenges. Responses determine compatibility between celestial capability and personal integrity. Whis approaches, speaking for the first time since trials began. These scenarios are constructs based on probability extractions from your own universe. They contain real beings temporarily translocated into this testing dimension. Their experiences here will be erased upon return, but their responses to you are genuine. You're kidnapping people for this test? Naruto asks, alarmed. Borrowing, Whis corrects, from potential futures and alternate timelines. None will remember this experience, nor suffer lasting consequences. Before Naruto can protest further, Marcarita directs him toward the first scenario. Enter and respond as you deem appropriate. Observation continues throughout. With reluctance, Naruto steps into the first constructed reality, immediately finding himself in what appears to be war-torn village resembling outskirts of Konoha. Buildings burn around him, civilians flee in terror, and shinobi battle against overwhelming force of unfamiliar attackers with otherworldly weapons. An injured woman clutches at his leg as he passes. Please, she begs, my daughter is trapped in that building. The soldiers are everywhere. No one can reach her. The scenario's parameters become clear. With his celestial abilities, Naruto could easily rescue the child, neutralize all attackers, and completely reverse the village's destruction. But doing so would reveal powers far beyond what any shinobi should possess, potentially changing the course of this reality's development. Naruto makes his decision. Focusing carefully, he creates localized time dilation, slowing the flames consuming the building and the advance of nearby attackers without completely stopping time. Then, moving at normal speed within his altered temporal field, he appears as simply very fast rather than supernatural as he rescues the child and neutralizes immediate threats. He carefully limits his intervention to what might be possible for an exceptional but fundamentally human shinobi, choosing precision over raw power, minimizing his impact on the reality's natural development while still saving lives. The scenario dissolves around him once the immediate crisis resolves, returning him to the neutral space where Marcarita waits. Interesting choice, she observes without revealing whether his approach was deemed correct. Proceed to second scenario. This pattern continues through 5 distinct challenges, each presenting different ethical dilemmas requiring balancing power against consequence. A planet facing extinction from natural disaster. A tyrant with hostages threatening mass execution. A technological civilization on verge of discovering interdimensional travel before they're prepared for its implications. A child with terminal illness begging for healing. A timeline where someone he loves makes different choices leading to catastrophic outcomes. In each case, Naruto navigates between non-intervention and overwhelming force, seeking balanced solutions that respect free will while preventing unnecessary suffering. Sometimes he succeeds elegantly, other times his solutions prove imperfect but earnest. Throughout these trials, Naruto notices Marcarita's clinical detachment gradually shifting, subtle changes in her observation patterns suggesting greater interest in his decision-making process rather than merely its outcomes. When the final scenario concludes, he returns to find her studying him with newly analytical gaze. Character assessment complete, she states formally. Unusual ethical framework but internally consistent. Prioritizes minimizing harm while respecting developmental autonomy. Is that good or bad? Naruto asks directly. Neither. It simply is, she responds with celestial neutrality. Final trial remains. Combat capacity assessment. The training ground transforms again, expanding vastly into what resembles cosmic arena. Stars provide distant illumination across dimensiona. Battlefield that extends beyond conventional space. I am your opponent, Marcarita announces, floating to position opposite Naruto. This trial evaluates power application under adversarial conditions. Demonstrate offensive and defensive capabilities without causing permanent dimensional damage. Naruto stares across the battlefield at the angel attendant, suddenly understanding the magnitude of this test. You want me to fight you? An actual angel, correct, she confirms, readying her staff. Begin. Without warning, she gestures slightly, a nearly imperceptible movement that sends concentrated force hurtling toward him at impossible speed. Naruto barely manages to transfer himself aside, the attack passing through his previous position with enough power to shatter dimensional boundaries. Reflexive defense acceptable, Marcarita notes dispassionately. Now demonstrate counteroffensive capability. Naruto hesitates, uncertain how to attack a being of her caliber without risking destructive overcompensation. Drawing upon his shinobi training, he opts for information gathering before commitment, creating multiple energy projections of himself that scatter across the battlefield in unpredictable patterns. Marcarita eliminates these projections methodically, her movements precise and economical. Energy construct diversion. Tactical foundation acceptable. However, genuine offensive demonstration required. Recognizing the need to show real capability, Naruto focuses celestial energy into concentrated form, not the chaotic destructive power of Rasengan but controlled force directed through dimensional currents toward his opponent. Marcarita deflects the attack easily, though her expression registers mild surprise at its composition. Interesting. You've adapted Hinobi energy construction principles to celestial application. Innovative but underdeveloped. The exchange continues, Marcarita attacking with increasing intensity, Naruto defending and occasionally countering with gradually improving technique. Throughout the combat, he senses she restricts herself to fraction of her true capability, yet even this limited power exceeds anything he's encountered before. Your defensive adaptability exceeds offensive commitment, she observes after particularly elaborate evasion sequence. Hesitation limits effective power application. I'm trying not to destroy the dimension, Naruto explains. Breathing heavily despite his enhanced stamina. Controlled destruction represents fundamental celestial function, she responds, suddenly accelerating her attack pattern. Demonstrate capacity. The shift in intensity forces Naruto into increasingly defensive posture. Marcarita's movements blur beyond perception, her attacks coming from multiple vectors simultaneously. Even with his developing celestial senses, tracking her becomes nearly impossible. A precisely calculated strike connects with his midsection, sending him hurtling across dimensional space. The impact should be devastating. Yet Naruto discovers his body automatically adapting, distributing force across dimensional frequencies rather than absorbing it physically. As the battle intensifies, Naruto feels something shifting within his celestial energy, responding to combat necessity in ways he doesn't consciously direct. His movements become more fluid, his perceptions sharper, his counters more precisely targeted. Marcarita notices this evolution, adjusting her approach accordingly. Your instinctive adaptation accelerates under pressure. Interesting developmental pattern. She increases attack complexity again, weaving temporal distortions into her movements, appearing at multiple positions simultaneously through localized time manipulation. Naruto finds himself defending against attacks that exist in probabilistic state, some manifesting physically while others remain potential unless specific defensive choices trigger their actualization. The combat transcends physical exchange, becoming battle of conceptual applications, each fighter manipulating fundamental aspects of reality as tactical elements. Despite his rapid improvement, Naruto remains overmatched against Marcarita's eons of experience. A particularly sophisticated combination sends him crashing through several dimensional boundaries, momentarily disorienting his positional awareness. As he struggles to reorient, Marcarita appears directly before him, staff poised for finishing demonstration. Combat assessment conclusion approaching, she states formally. Final defensive response required. Something within Naruto, some deeply instinctive aspect of his awakening celestial nature, recognizes existential threat beyond physical danger. Not mere defeat but potential neutralization. In this moment of genuine necessity, barriers within his developing power structure dissolve. Time stops, not locally or temporarily, but completely, universal pause affecting everything except Naruto himself. Even Marcarita freezes mid-motion, her expression caught between professional detachment and surprise. Within this perfect stillness, Naruto perceives reality differently, seeing not objects and beings but interconnected patterns of conceptual energy. Marcarita appears as complex matrix of celestial algorithms operating within hierarchical parameters. More significantly, he sees limitations in the parameters, operational boundaries established by external authority. With instinctive understanding beyond his conscious knowledge, Naruto reaches toward these boundaries, not to break them but to temporarily suspend them, creating exemption field around his opponent. Time resumes. Marcarita completes her attack motion but finds her staff meeting perfect counter, Naruto's hand catching the Whis pawn as though intercepting ordinary object rather than celestial implement. More shockingly, she feels her connection to established celestial authority momentarily attenuate, her powers temporarily operating outside hierarchical constraints. For precisely 3 seconds, Marcarita exists as fully autonomous celestial entity rather than angel attendant bound by cosmic governance. The sensation is simultaneously liberating and terrifying. freedom she has never experienced in millions of years of existence. Then the moment passes. The exemption field dissolves as Naruto's instinctive power surge recedes. Hierarchical connections re-establish themselves, and Marcarita returns to her proper cosmic position. But memory of temporary autonomy remains. She steps back, eyes wide with genuine emotion. The first Naruto has witnessed from her. "How did you?" she begins, then composes herself with visible effort. Trial concluded. Whis appears beside them, his expression uncharacteristically serious. Most unexpected outcome. The council must be informed immediately. Naruto stands confused, uncertain what exactly happened during that strange moment. "Did I do something wrong?" "Not wrong," Whis clarifies carefully. "Unprecedented. You temporarily suspended hierarchical limitations on angel authority, ability theoretically impossible for anyone except Zeno himself." The implications slowly dawn on Naruto. "I affected the rules governing angels." "How?" "First angel energy predates current cosmic hierarchy," Marcarita explains, her voice containing subtle tremor despite perfect composure. "It exists lateral to established authority structures rather than beneath them." She studies Naruto with newly cautious respect. "You instinctively accessed this lateral position to create emption space, temporarily releasing me from operational constraints." "I didn't mean to." Intent irrelevant to capability demonstration, she interrupts. The council requires immediate consultation. With precise gesture, Marcarita opens pathway back to council chamber. The three return in silence, Naruto increasingly concerned about implications of abilities he barely understands yet wields instinctively under pressure. The council chamber hums with heightened energy upon their return, clear indication that members observed the trial's unexpected conclusion. Hinata rushes to Naruto's side as he steps onto central platform. Relief evident in her expression. "Are you all right?" she whispers. That last exchange looked intense. Before Naruto can respond, the Grand Priest descends from his elevated position, focusing complete attention upon the unexpected anomaly before him. "Naruto Uzumaki," he addresses formally, "you have demonstrated capability beyond initial evaluation parameters. Temporary suspension of hierarchical protocols represents Omega-level reality manipulation." The council erupts in silent communication, vibrations of alarm, fascination, and calculation rip ling through chamber like invisible tsunami. When consensus finally forms, the crystalline being speaks for collective. Subject presents unprecedented classification difficulty. Neither mortal nor celestial, neither governed nor governing, existing adjacent to established order rather than within it. Theoretically, interjects the vortex being, first angel energy could reconstruct fundamental reality parameters. Potential exists for complete cosmic restructuring. The implications hang heavily in multidimensional space. Naruto's developing abilities potentially represent power to rewrite the rules governing existence itself. "I don't want to restructure anything," Naruto states firmly, sensing the direction of their concerns. "I just want to protect my world from whatever threat activated these powers." The Grand Priest studies him with expression of perfect neutrality. Intent provides context but not limitation. Capability remains independent factor requiring appropriate response. From shadows at chamber's edge emerges another figure, one who has observed proceedings silently until now. Tall and elegant with pale blue skin similar to Whis but feminine features and staff bearing different insignia. "If I may address the council," she requests formally. The council recognizes Vados, angel attendant to Lord Champa, god of destruction for Universe 6, announces the green-skinned celestial. Vados approaches central platform with graceful precision, studying Naruto with undisguised intellectual curiosity. "Having observed all trials, I propose alternative classification framework. Subject represents neither threat nor asset but evolutionary variable, potential adaptation mechanism within cosmic system." She gestures elegantly, creating visual representation of complex celestial theory, diagrams showing cosmic hierarchy as adaptive system rather than fixed structure. First angel energy historically emerges during periods requiring systemic adjustment, she continues. Its appearance in mortal vessels suggests adaptive response to threat beyond conventional parameters, potentially these Otsutsuki entities referenced in historical documentation. The council considers this perspective. Vibrations shifting from alarm toward calculated interest. Proposal merits consideration, acknowledges the Grand Priest. However, an regulated adaptive mechanism presents inherent stability risks. Agreed, Vados responds smoothly. Therefore I propose supervised development protocol rather than containment. Angel oversight from multiple universes to ensure lanced progression while preparing subject for confrontation with activating threat. Marcarita steps forward unexpectedly. I volunteer as primary developmental supervisor. This declaration causes subtle ripple of surprise among council members. Whis glances at Marcarita with newfound interest, clearly reassessing his counterpart's motivations. Unusual request from Universe 11 representative, notes the crystalline being. Explanation required. Marcarita maintains perfect composure. Subject temporarily suspended my operational constraints during combat trial. This unique interaction provides optimal evaluation position. Additionally, my methodological precision ensures developmental regulation adheres to established parameters. What she doesn't articulate, though Naruto senses beneath her formal reasoning, is fascination with the momentary freedom she experienced during their exchange. The memory of constraint absence has affected her more deeply than she publicly acknowledges. I also volunteer oversight participation, Whis adds smoothly. My existing rapport with subject provides complementary instructional dynamic to Marcarita's methodological approach. As do I, Vados interjects. Universe 6-7 paired relationship offers valuable developmental context, particularly regarding potential Otsutsuki threat affecting multiple realities. The council deliberates in silent communication, dimensions around them fluctuating with intensity of conceptual exchange. Finally, the Grand Priest raises his hand for attention. The council accepts conditional oversight proposal, he announces. Subject Naruto Uzumaki will undergo supervised development under tripartite angel guidance. Progress reports required at designated intervals. Immediate containment authorized if developmental thresholds exceed safety parameters. He turns directly to Naruto. Do you accept these terms? Naruto considers carefully, aware that his answer affects not just his own fate, but potentially that of countless realities. The celestial power flowing through him continues its transformation, requiring guidance he cannot provide himself. I accept, he agrees finally, on one condition. Hinata remains with me throughout this process. Her perspective keeps me grounded in what matters, the people and world I'm trying to protect. The Grand Priest studies Hinata thoughtfully. Mortal companion as developmental stabilizer. Unusual but potentially beneficial. Request granted with appropriate accommodations. Relief washes through Naruto. Whatever comes next, facing it without complete isolation from his human connections makes all difference. Then it is decided, declares the Grand Priest. Naruto Uzumaki, bearer of first angel energy, will undergo supervised development under angels Marcarita, Whis, and Vados, with mortal observer Hinata Hyuga providing supplementary perspective. Primary objective: prepare for confrontation with threat that activated Celesti. Al tablet while maintaining cosmic structural integrity. He approaches Naruto directly, studying him with ancient eyes that perceive potential futures branching from this moment. You stand at Argent's point between mortal and celestial domains, Naruto Uzumaki. Neither fully human nor truly angel, but something unprecedented. The path you forge may reshape understanding of what consciousness can become. With formal gesture, the Grand Priest concludes proceedings. Council evaluation adjourned. Developmental protocol commences immediately. As celestial representatives depart to their respective jurisdictions, Naruto finds himself standing with his 3 appointed mentors plus Hinata, the beginning of strange new fellowship that transcends conventional boundaries between mortal and divine. Well, Whis says, breaking formal atmosphere with characteristic lightness, that went significantly better than expected. No containment measures, no memory erasure, not even dimensional restrictions. Quite the favorable outcome. Quote, indeed, Vados agrees, studying Naruto with analytical interest. Though the real challenges begin now. Structured development of first angel energy requires unprecedented instructional adaptation. Quote, which is precisely why methodology must prioritize containment parameters, Marcarita adds, though her usual rigid formality seems slightly softened. We begin with fundamental conceptual recalibration before attempting practical applications. As the angels discuss technical training approaches, Hinata moves to Naruto's side. "Are you really okay?" she asks quietly. That final exchange looked different from anything I've ever seen. "I'm not sure what happened," Naruto admits. "Something just clicked into place. Like accessing Kurama's chakra for the first time. But on completely different scale. More significant than you realize, ****. Kurama's voice rumbles through their mental connection, having observed everything. You briefly accessed original state. What existed before division into hierarchical structure. Even I perceive it only as distant genetic memory. This insight reinforces the magnitude of what's happening to High M. Changes that transcend even the godlike power of tailed beasts. Yet amid cosmic implications, Naruto finds himself focused on surprisingly human concern. "I'm starving," he announces abruptly, erupting the angels' technical discussion. "As eating allowed in celestial realms? Or do you guys not need food?" The unexpected question breaks remaining tension. Whis laughs with genuine amusement. While even Marcarita's perfect composure cracks slightly. "Angels don't require sustenance," Vados explains, though many of us appreciate culinary experiences as aesthetic pleasure rather than biological necessity. "Actually," Whis adds enthusiastically, "sampling cuisine across realities represents one of my favorite activities. Perhaps beginning your training with Multiversal Culinary Tour W. Old provide excellent transitional experience. A regular instructional methodology," Marcarita observes, though without her previous rigid disapproval. However, biological transition requires appropriate accommodation for remaining mortal functions. Translation. Even angels recognize the need for lunch break. "Then it's settled," Whis declares cheerfully. "We shall commence your celestial education with proper meal. I know exceptional establishment in neutral space serving conceptual delicacies from 17 universes." As they prepare to depart council chamber, Naruto feels Hinata's hand slip into his, mortal connection anchoring him amid expanding celestial awareness. Whatever he's becoming, whatever powers flow through him, this simple human contact reminds him of who he is beneath it all. Where to first? He asks his newfound celestial mentors, unexpected optimism rising within him despite overwhelming circumstances. Universe 6, Vados suggests with subtle competitive glance toward Whis. "Our culinary achievements far exceed Universe 7's primitive preparations." "Absurd claim," Whis counters good-naturedly. "Universe 7 contains no less than 312 planets with transcendent food cultures, including Earth itself." As the angels debate culinary superiority across realities, Naruto exchanges amused glance with Hinata. Perhaps Celestial Bay, NGS aren't so different after all, they just argue about restaurant choices on cosmic scale. With newfound celestial energy flowing through his transforming being, three angel mentors debating his educational priorities. And Hinata's grounding presence beside him, Naruto steps into next phase of unprecedented journey. Not just as shinobi of Hidden Leaf, but as something existence has never seen or mortal ascending toward celestial understanding while carrying human heart within divine power. Behind them, in empty council chamber, lingering energy patterns from Naruto's examination continue. Swirling long after participants depart, forming momentary configuration that resembles, just briefly, ancient symbol predating current multiverse. Symbol representing concept untranslatable to modern language but approximating rebirth, revolution, and renewal. The first angel's legacy has awakened. The consequences have only begun to unfold. Chapter 3 End. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.